Hello, my name is Jessica Buckham.
My name is Natalia Kozitski, and we're Trent University nursing students.
Our project this placement is to interview new Canadians to find out about their experiences when they first immigrated to Canada and to see how these experiences have affected their health.
Today we have the pleasure of meeting Sumangala Shumanganathan.
So what is your country of origin?
It's Sri Lanka.
Some people say their first year in Canada was very exciting, others say that they missed home. What was your first year in Canada like?
Well, I've traveled a lot. We've moved from place to place quite a bit. I haven't lived in one country my entire life. So moving wasn't an issue because I've gotten used to the aspect of moving and trying to settle down in a new place. I guess what was my first impressions was the culture here. So sort of, this was the first time I was in a Caucasian culture. All the other countries I've been in was Arab or Sri Lankan or Indian. But coming to Canada, I lived in New York for 6 months as well, so it's a lot different from New York. People are usually a little more friendlier here. And then I went right into grade 12, so my first impressions a lot were attached to high school. Overall, everybody was friendly, but it was still kind of hard to fit in. People were still really interested to know where I was from, and that makes it awkward. Like, you can't really fit in when people ask you, by the way, where are you from? Because they realize that you're an outsider right away. So those were my first impressions.
During your first year in Canada, were you able to find a comfortable place to live and a job?
Yes. I moved with my family, and my dad got us a house right away, so it was really nice. And I was in high school again, so I walked to high school as a teenager. No, and I didn't work because my parents didn't expect me to. I did later on, maybe 5 months later on, but it was when I compare it to other people who have moved here and their stories, I think we were very lucky because my parents made sure that we moved into a nice house right away, and that helped a lot with settling in. And the neighbors were really nice too.
So you had everything you needed.
Exactly. Like, he didn't want us to, like, my dad didn't want us to go through that part where a lot of families struggle, right? They don't want to spend the extra money, so they rent maybe a basement, or that's all they can afford maybe. So my parents, they didn't want us to go through that.
And did you have many supports here when you first arrived? Family members?
No family members. Like, we don't have any relatives here. When at the time we moved, now we do. But my parents did have a lot of family friends that they knew years back, and they moved here, and so they were able to help out. Yeah.
What about making friends? Was it easy for you to do? Did you have friends in Canada before you came here? Young friends.
I didn't have friends in Canada before I came here, no. But it was very difficult making new friends. Again, because I was going into grade 12, so people usually, have their own cliques and whatnot, and it's, grade 12 wasn't a very good experience for me here. I did make a couple of friends who were really good to me, but then again, the culture clash, right? My parents wouldn't let me go out at night, so, whereas here it's totally fine to do that. They couldn't understand that. They couldn't understand why I couldn't see a movie at 10. It would have been fine to see a movie at 5 or 6, but not at 10 o'clock at night, right? Because I had to be home a certain time, even though I was 18. So, I guess that's still around in some families, even if, but then it was much, much easier to make friends when I went into university the next year, because again, it's everybody coming into a new place, and just
Start from zero.
Exactly, starting from zero. Everyone's at the same level, so it was much easier to make friends, and I had a great time in university. So high school, not so much, but yes.
How often do you return to your place of origin to visit family?
Interesting question. It's been 7 years since I've moved here, and I haven't been. I was there 2 years ago, but just for a day, because I was actually going to another country, so I stopped on the way for a day. That was about it. But I'm going this August, in a month, in 2 weeks. So excited.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did you speak English fluently when you first came?
Yes.
And do you find that your choice of nutrition has changed during your stay in Canada? If yes, then how?
Yeah, because obviously, like I lived most of my life again in the Gulf, in India and Sri Lanka, so you wouldn't get the foods like peppers and broccoli and things like that. So obviously yes, but again here I don't miss the foods that I was used to because you can still get them. You know, like you can still get. I can always go to an ethnic food store and get my.
What do you find to eat?
What do I tend to eat? Whatever's easier to access, so probably just what we get at the grocery store. Yeah.
And do you consider yourself to your culture still?
I don't know. It's hard again because I've traveled, moved so much. I haven't lived in one place my whole life, so I think I've sort of absorbed each of the cultures. But like there's a little bit of Arab culture in me, there's a little bit of Indian culture in me, there's a little bit of Sri Lankan, there's a little bit of a lot of Western because it's obviously the one I'm most immersed in right now. But I can, like, when I go back to India, I can reconnect, like, I'd be able to reconnect to that culture, and when I go back to Sri Lanka, I'd definitely be able to reconnect, so, I don't know, I can't, you know, it's hard for me to say, oh, I'm Sri Lankan, or I'm even Sri Lankan Canadian, because I've only lived in Sri Lanka, 3 years of my entire life. I've lived in Canada more than I have in Sri Lanka and India put together, so, it's hard for me to say I'm from one place when I've actually lived in so many places.
What would you say is one of the biggest difficulty that you had when you first came to Canada?
One of the biggest difficulties, obviously, making friends. I mean, you can imagine at that age, I think I was like 17, 18, losing all of your friends and then moving to a completely new place and having to make new friends again was. And then my parents too, right? They were like, my whole family was going through that experience, so. It was just as hard for them, and then, you know, knowing that we were all like trying to fit in, and we were all struggling with it, so, like my dad didn't find work for an entire year until we moved, so, until after we moved, so.
Just financial too.
Yeah, it was very, like he still let us go and get the things we needed, but, you know, it was obviously always with him, like he did tell he was so stressed out, and like that starts impacting the family dynamics and whatnot. So that it definitely affected the family as a whole, I would think. Again, it depends what age it is that you come here. Like young kids tend to settle in much faster, whereas older adults, you know, teenagers find it very difficult to settle in. So I was at that age. My sister too, she was like 16, 15, and we both found it really hard to settle in. Much harder than the other countries we went to.